Hello, Aries. Welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor, and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. All right, so Aries. We have the adjustment card. We have that big Libra energy, things coming into balance. Right, we're trying to get it all together. We have also, which I love about this card, we have the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning, the end. The beginning, the end. And actually, funny enough, my only tattoos that I have are, in fact, Alpha, Omega. Gateway, portal, beloved. The beginning and the end. All right, so we're going to see, what does this have to do with Aries energy today? What are we trying to get into balance? Now, often this is really, kind of related to the rules of our life, right? The way that we have things organized, our boundaries, where we're willing to explore. This can also be things like, really often involved in legal matters, signing contracts, even, kind of like getting a new job, right? Often, you have to sign a contract because this is the work you're going to be doing and there are rules there and so on and so forth. So it could be something like that, entering into a marriage. Dissolution of a marriage, child custody things, and now I'm not saying that this is what the reading is going to be about, so don't worry. We try not to get into the doom and gloom around here, although I do not, steer away from what makes us uncomfortable, but we're going to see. So let's go ahead. We're going to, and we'll check these beautiful tea leaves out. And I have to say, thank you so much for deciding to click on the reading. It is truly an honor for me to be able to bring these messages to you. My humble offerings. We have the number 50 right here. 50. Oops. Excuse me, 50. And then over here we have, it looks like, at least from the angle I'm looking at it, 20. So we have 50 and we have 20. 20. Okay. These numbers might mean something to you. Maybe they will find you. Hopefully they will find you well. And as I say that, I see we have this cute little smiley face right here. So it feels like we're in pretty good spirits lately, at least the last few days. This is so funny. I was just going to tell you, I am in such a good mood this morning. Well, it's not really morning. And I always say night in my readings, but it's somewhere in the afternoon. And I went to go check on a friend's dogs today. They are traveling, and they had maybe like a little lapse in somebody being able to come and let the dogs out in the middle of the day. So I went over there and I got to see two beautiful puppers. Now I'm looking right here. We have a person standing here holding something out to what looks like a dog. Now over here we have a person that looks like they are being completely just overshadowed by this large dog right here. And symbolically, the dogs usually mean, in my eyes, someone who is a beloved friend. Somebody who you have a almost undying loyalty to, right? This is like your best friend. This is like, if you're on good terms with your mom, which, so the people that are on good terms with their mom are usually very close with their mothers, right? I feel like, anyways, in my age group, that seems to be true. So maybe it is like your mother or a family member. But I feel like in this next period of time, there's almost this kind of an energy of some kind of, I don't want to say it's a crisis because it doesn't feel like a crisis, but what it feels to me like is that there's almost like this impending doom that this person seems to be living with. And I think that you're starting to notice that their mood has changed. Maybe even their behavior seems a little different. Almost kind of like scatterbrained or just out of sorts. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they have all of the stress, and they seem to be, I imagine, the type of person who doesn't like to burden others with their problems. And so I feel like in this next period of time, as you start to really see, and this is verified, like something's going on with them, right? And they seem more, worried and not put together as they usually are. And so I feel like you're going to have to kind of play a role of being a support person, right? And I don't think that, for you that is any surprise, because this is somebody you are very close with and who you love dearly, and you want to be in that role. But I do feel like at times they're really going to be maybe even kind of snippy, maybe a little bit mercurial. What is mercurial? Mercurial is like moody. I used to have, I don't even want to invoke your name. I'm not going to. I used to have a magical partner. That's what I'll call him. A magical partner years ago when I was young. And I can barely even remember that world. It seems like a lifetime ago. But he used to always call me the mercurial mist. And when I first heard that, I was like, what does that mean? I don't know. What the heck does that mean? So I went and looked it up, and so you're saying I'm moody. I'm moody with like a little spiciness in there too. But we all have the capacity to be, well, and I'm a Virgo too, so I am very mercurial by nature. We all have the capacity, right? And under the right circumstances, anybody could be up and down, left and right, just absolutely happy, crying, raging, hugging, there's this book it's a book about, what is it called? Borderline personality disorder. And I think it's like one of the first books that was written about it. And it's called I Hate You, Don't Leave Me. And I received this book when I was young. I was probably misdiagnosed in my youth with BPD, which you're not allowed to say anymore. Nobody wants to be friends with somebody. I do. Of course I do. I do not push forth the stigma. But this is, when we get into that mercurial mode, and anybody can, right? There is that feeling of, even like, I can't stand you. I don't like you. I might even feel like I hate you, which is a very strong word, right? But please don't leave me. I love you. I love you. I love you. Right? And I feel like, under certain types of stress and grief and, tower moments, and that's, I feel like I always have to qualify my diagnosis, because I actually don't have it anymore, the diagnosis of BPD, but my parents had just passed away, and I have, CPTSD, and then even later in my life, I was diagnosed with ADHD, and, I'm on the spectrum as well. So, who knows, right? And I don't want to have to apologize for myself about it, but it is one of the things that still have a really big stigma, which I wish it didn't, because we all have, aspects. We all can get into them places where we behave, out of sorts and so on. So, I embrace all of my neurodivergent friends and family, all of us with varied personalities, and even if we have been marked with personality disorders or diagnoses or whatever, you have a home here, and I love you. Just know that. And I hope that you'll extend me the same, the same love and courtesy and all of that. So anyways, I do feel like this is going to be rough for you. Okay, let me just be real about that. Because you love this person and they're not behaving exactly how you imagine them, right? This seems like a pretty big shift. But I think a lot of it is about stress. And then we have the big kind of angry one over here. But then over here, look at this it almost looks like a little puppy, and you're feeding it. And it's they need your help, and they're vulnerable and feeling maybe kind of wounded or not really knowing what to do with themselves. And I don't know what it is that is occurring, if this is a life change, if this is a health issue, if it's financial, if it's love, if it's, just the passage of time and getting older. I'm not sure. But I do know it's going to be really important for you to approach this in a way that is manageable on your end. So you're not absolutely, just pouring all of yourself into somebody else. Which, we want to save and help and fix the people that we love so they don't have to, toil or suffer or anything like that. But we also have to be aware of our own well-being, right? So I think that that's the thing here, is maybe being very aware of the balance and really how much can you do yourself, right? I think that's going to be an important thing. But I do feel like there is such belovedness here, and there's happiness still, right? This isn't all doom and gloomy stuff. It's somebody who is going through a hard time, and you're going to be around there for them. And things shall pass as they do, and change and evolve. And I feel that there will be happiness, and it won't be far off. Okay, let's see here. Now, this one, what does this look like? It looks like June. 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 Which is coming up, right? 2 months away, I think. We're in April. Yeah. Yes. It is April, right? I can't tell what the heck's going on. Can you believe it was just Christmas, or, the winter, December. It was just December recently. And all of a sudden, we're almost halfway through the year. I don't know where time goes. So we have a person standing here. They have a little pot with a flower growing out of it. Up here we have another person with a pot and a flower growing out of that pot as well. And it looks like we have a little rabbit right here. We have a skateboard and a person kind of on it up there. We have people looking at a statue. Here's the statue. Here are the people. We have a person right here. It looks like they're wearing a robe, kind of in that magi or magus or magician energy, sending off some kind of energies. We also have the Ace of Swords and we have a heart. Okay, so let's work off of these. So, to me, it really looks like you are doing a lot of, planting the seed. You've sowed the seeds, right? You've done a lot of planning for this next period of time. I feel like you are somebody who is usually really organized. That seems to be the case here as well. I feel like, you're this thing with the family member or the friend or the person that, you're supporting, you're helping them out and you're being there for them. I feel like this is one of the things that kind of, sometimes it'll come out of nowhere and it really kind of gets us wobbling along the way, right? Because it's a big deal. It's a lot of energy and vitality and emotional labor. And I feel like the term emotional labor has become kind of cynical. But we all do emotional labor. And what does that mean? It means that we are taking on other people's situations and emotions, and we are going through it just, maybe not exactly the same as they are, but we are experiencing their emotions and the emotions that they are locked into, or the situation, right? And this happens with us every day. Every day you are doing some kind of emotional labor, okay? It's unavoidable and it's not a bad thing. We need to know how to manage it, of course, but it's not a negative, okay? So you are doing the emotional labor and that can be very tiring, right? Sometimes if somebody asks me, for instance, like, would you come and help me move, which is more of like a physical thing, right? Is we're lifting stuff and moving it around and, all that. Versus like if somebody asked me, can you come and like, I don't know, like help support my family during a time of loss. Can you come come and sit with us and maybe you can like talk and just kind of bring some insight into the situation, which I would be very honored to do this. It's that kind of thing that has been asked of me before. Always it is an honor, absolutely, but it is almost infinitely more tiring because it is emotional labor, right? It is. It's extremely tiring, and it would be easier for me to move somebody than it would be to sit and have this really deeply emotional experience. Does that mean I'm not going to do it? No, I'm going to be there, of course, right? But, it needs to be looked at. And it needs to, be accepted by ourselves that just because you're not doing something that's making money or, you're not physically changing something, like literally, moving something or creating something or whatever, you're still doing deep work and hard work, okay? So I feel like, there really is this need to have other outlets, but I also feel this great amount of confidence and growth and really starting to maybe even see that there's this whole other part of your being that is really good at being this kind of support person. So maybe something like counseling, being kind of like I don't know what they're called within like religious systems, but being part of a fellowship or like a support person within, your congregation, or, I know that, like I've shared before, I'm in 12 step. I sometimes I'm really involved in it, sometimes not as much, right? But I've definitely, sponsored people, and I've been sponsored and that kind of thing. But being in a situation where you are available to somebody who maybe needs to, needs support, needs somebody to talk to, need this kind of thing. And so I feel like this time in your life, as you are being there for somebody you really love, I can also see that you're starting to realize, like, this is something I'm really good at. Like, feels very natural to me. So we have that, and those are the flowers that are growing. But we also have, it looks like this the statue with the people viewing it. And I feel like, to me, this is all about going out and experiencing, witnessing, being that ever student, right? Going and immersing yourself in things that you find very moving and passionate and inspiring and emotional and all of that. And so I do, I'm not going to go on my little spiel about it, but I always love to talk to people about how I really truly believe that we would all benefit if we took 30 minutes every day and looked at some kind of art or experienced some kind of art. If it's music, if it's writing, literature, if it's poetry, if it's, song and dance, or you're looking at paintings, going to museums, you're on Tumblr, whatever. Gift yourself the experience of seeing through other people's eyes and feeling other people's feelings and looking at stuff that I don't know what the heck this is, but it makes me feel something, right? It alters the way I'm thinking just enough that I can, travel space and time and go to this beautiful cottage and this kind of distorted vision, like a Van Gogh, looking at the light and the movement and, how does that make you feel? And if we can do that every day, just have that moment that transports you, I promise you, your life will expand. It will. And so I see that. Now, we talked about the skateboard. I feel like you have somebody who maybe you used to hang out with, that maybe they skateboarded. We have the number 13 attached to that. But I do feel like there is some kind of connection that is current. Maybe this is somebody that you grew up with. Maybe it is like a sibling. But I feel like it's also tied to this magician energy. We had the heart and the sword, so very much about emotions and thinking. And I feel like this is another place where you are seeking balance. I also see that we have Chronos or death right here, and that it seems to be related to this. It's like a line here. So I kind of wonder if there's been a situation where maybe there's been some mental health stuff or maybe addiction stuff, but I feel like you kind of almost worry about this person and you want them to like get better or have a good life and all these things, but you don't always know how to be there for them. And I feel like, maybe this is coming up again because of your other situation with your family member who is acting kind of out of sorts. But I do believe that's not so much about addiction. That seems like it's more about, of an acute situation that is happening. Okay. Let's go over here. We're going to take a look. So we have the number 106. We have a llama, which is repeated. The llama was also over here. We have a llama, we have a llama. And that tells me there's a need for some silliness in your life. Silliness and passion. Just like I feel like there's like a lot of built up or pent up energies. Okay, like I feel like you just need to laugh until you cry. I know it's easier to say that than to actually find some perfect alignment that's going to make you that silly and laugh. But the llama is all about being silly, less serious at least. So I do feel like just finding something that will help you blow off some steam. If you are somebody that likes like comedy or, you like, there's like a place you like to go, like skating or, I don't know, somewhere that it feels not just joyous, but the funny is the aspect here. The laughing and the letting go, being able to joke about things again. That seems so important. So our first lucky number is number 12. Number 12. Okay, number 43. 12 and 43 and 82 and 82. And we're going to finish with our Indigo Sage affirmation cards. I'm just going to flip through, stop where it feels right. And it says, number 11, germination, spinning Sufi. With the next favor you receive, radiate thankfulness far beyond the known. Far beyond the known. I love that. Just being thankful. Thankful. You don't have to like go out of your way to make everybody know, but to live in a posture of thankfulness, right? Gratitude. Just happy to be here, man. Like I try to get into that vibe, and I do in my mind almost sometimes. I think because I grew up in Northern California. I'm from East Sacramento, from the valley, right up against the foothills where all the smoke likes to hang out. And so we have that, and I grew up in the 90s. I'm an 80s baby, and so that like surfer in that movie Valley Girl, that was a little before me, but still, culturally very relevant. And I think in my mind, I'm like, why can't I just not, like, what was that movie called? Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Why can I not just be like a Spicoli? I know, like, but I do. I'm like, man, I just need to chill out, all right? Everything is cool. I should just be thankful to be here. It's a miracle. It really is. It's a miracle that each of us are here, and the real tragedy of things is that we live in this like state of amnesia that like it really is so bizarre and so wonderful that so many things have aligned to allow us to be alive right here in this moment, conscious and attached to a physical form or I don't know how that works, but you know what I'm saying. and yeah, it's amazing. Every breath is amazing. It's wonderful, and it is a miracle. Now, if I could just sustain that vibe, right? Wow. If you have any insights on how to do so, why don't you put them in the comments, because I want to know. I want to hear all about it. And with that, Aries, I'm going to say again, I love you. Please take care of yourself. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. Good night. Good night. Good night.